That's the size of it. Sadly, with Bertrand not joining us today, we don't get multilinguistic versions of the show. So, hello everybody, and welcome to another exciting episode of the Digital Download. Today, we're going to be talking about the reality of AI deployment for customer-facing teams, which I think is a really pertinent thing in the modern world. AI is very much the hot topic for organizations. And certainly when we look out into the marketplace, what we see is organizations are talking about using AI, but they're not quite sure what they need to be doing, despite the fact there seems to be a lot of hype around it. And a lot of people claim to be doing it. So I'm sure we will get into that and far more in today's session. But before we do that, let's go around the room and introduce ourselves. So ladies first, Tracy.
Good morning, everyone. I am Tracy Gorson, founder of TLB Coaching and Events and a proud partner of DLA Ignite. And I have many opinions on AI and scale and authenticity. So I'm super excited for the conversation today.
Fantastic. Hello, Tracy. Rob.
Hello, everyone. Long time no see. I'm Rob Durant. I am the CEO of U.S. Operations of the Institute of Sales Professionals, and I, too, am a proud DLA Ignite partner.
Thank you, Rob. Richard.
Hi, Richard Jones here from Curate as opposed to Q8.
I thought you said Q8.
And I'm a proud partner of DLA Ignite, and everything I know about AI is actually in AI. I just ask it the questions. Or I ask questions and I'll give you the answers.
Living the dream, eh, Richard?
I am indeed in Q8.
Tim.
Yes, thank you. My name's Tim Hughes. I'm the CEO and co-founder of DLA Ignite. And Adam and I both launched our new book, Social Selling and Influence, using social media for cold outreach and new business sales. And it's currently number 72 in the Amazon bestseller list.
Let's just have a quick wave to Andrew. Hi, Andrew.
Hi, Andrew.
Hi, Andrew.
Tim, but you didn't say you're famous for writing the book. So go on, say that bit as well.
What? Oh, and I'm famous for writing the book, Social Selling Techniques to Influence Buyers and Changemakers.
Fantastic. And I'm Adam. I'm Tim's business partner and co-founder of DLA Ignite.
And it's the last time I'm going to say that.
The last time you're going to say?
I'm famous for writing the book, Social Selling Techniques to Influence. We've moved on.
Because now he's famous for writing a new book, Adam.
I think we can say safely say he's famous for writing lots of books about AI, about social selling, and shortly to be AI, no doubt. Let's begin by saying how to use an enabler to facilitate personalized customer engagement at scale while preserving the human element that actually wins complex deals. And I think that's a really important jumping off point, because AI runs a very real risk of homogenizing everything. You know, the very nature of a large language model means that it's collected words, phrases, and knowledge from an almost infinite number of spaces, and it's compiled those into a singular view of the world. So when I ask AI to do something, how does that sound authentically like me, rather than when Richard asks the same question of AI and it sounds authentically like him? So how do we get that authenticity, first of all?
I mean, I would like to start off in the question asking arena, because I think in today's day and age of lists of prompts that people can just download and use, we have also forgotten that inherently the way that Adam would ask a question is different than the way that Richard would ask a question, even if their point of curiosity was the same. So if your point of curiosity is, how can AI help me to be more authentic? There's a way that Richard might say that. That's the way I might say that. Might be a different way that other people say it. And so in the, shall we call it prompt engineering, because people love to call it prompt engineering, the question asking component of our relationship with AI, How are we tapping into what we would ask? I think this is like the critical component of getting an answer that is ours instead of getting an answer that is to someone else's question, which then I'm taking and using to either start a conversation or create content or whatever I happen to be using that for. Now it's gotten away from being mine. But if we start off with the question being ours, then we have a better chance of that authenticity tracking through the entire system.
I think that's a really good point, Tracy. I mean, from a prompt perspective, I think it's very easy to go to the internet and find a whole bunch of prompts and replicate them, and then actually you're saying exactly the same as everybody else.
And you've actually turned off your wonderment. Like, what is it specifically that you wonder? This is, I mean, even when I think about, I think about this very commonly in networking, because it's very common for people networking to say, so what do you do? That's not your question. It's not actually something you're wondering. It's a default question that's filled the space, and we're afraid to fill the space. So we get a default question to fill the space, and then everybody's asking the same question. This is exactly what's happening with prompt engineering. And so if we take that away, or if we say to ourselves, I'm not allowed to do that, I'm not allowed to ask that question, I'm going to tap into, what do I actually wonder? I wonder why all the men on this call are wearing black today and glasses. Like, yeah, it may not be like, it may not sound like a strategic question. It may not sound like even a good question, but the exercises and tapping into what you're actually wondering. And so then you can harness that into, okay, well, if I'm trying to figure out my business strategy, or I'm trying to figure out how to start a conversation with a new person, or I'm trying to figure out what to write with this blinky dot on this white screen, then like I'm tapped into what I wonder. And then I can, again, track that into a more strategic implication of that.
It kind of comes down to the way you'd ask the question in a face-to-face conversation. You know, there's open questions and closed questions, and the more sort of openness, I guess, it is in how you sort of couch your demands or place your demands on AI, the more creative the response is likely to be. You know, if you're strictly closed, you are going to get very much the same as the next person who asks exactly the same question.
Yeah, maybe, but I think that the key thing is that you have to teach the AI how you want it to respond. Yes, there's prompt engineering, how good a question you ask it, which is, I guess, a programming thing. You know, you write a little program, your prompt that executes in a particular way and gets a particular result. But now we have the opportunity to teach AI how we want it to operate. So Tim and myself and Bertrand were talking about this earlier in the week, and one of the issues that people have with social media as an engagement platform is the fact that often you have to do some quite time-consuming things to get the result that you want to get. So one of those things might be commenting on other people's posts. And when I say commenting on other people's posts, I mean Tracy has written a fantastic thought leadership piece, and it takes me 10 minutes to read it and really process that. And it takes me 15 minutes to work out what I can say that is not some vacuous comment like, great idea, Tracy, thanks for sharing, which adds no value to anybody, but something which demonstrates I have heard what she said, I have understood it, and I want to add some value to her thing, which makes me look good to her audience. That's traditionally been quite a time-consuming post. So how can AI help you turn that 25-minute mini project into a 25-second task?
Should it?
Ooh, good one, Rob.
I love your comments, Rob. Shouldn't it?
Well, let me start with this. What we're basically saying is, how do I use a table saw to build a bookcase? First, let's understand the tool and then understand what we want to build. I like explaining to my marketing students what AI stands for because they think they know. They think they know AI stands for artificial intelligence. There's nothing artificial about it, nor is there anything intelligent. It's the amalgam of information. It has gone out and collected everything ever known as posted on the internet and assimilated all of that. And then if you think of a normal distribution curve, if you think of the extreme opinions and ideas at one end and the extreme opinions and ideas at the other, and you basically throw those out, and you look at just the very middle of the middle, AI is delivering us what most people think. AI is delivering us conventional wisdom. Now, some might ask how wise conventional wisdom is, but that's what we're getting. So when we ask it to go out and write this for us or do that for us, it's going to come back with everyone else does this. We've already established if we do what everyone else does, we're invisible. So if you point your AI at my LinkedIn post and then you have it come back with a response, oh, Rob, that was so insightful, this, that, and the other, but I then follow up with you, hey, thanks, what do you think of this? And you can't respond. Do you look better or do you look worse for
Well,
having done anything?
Yeah, I think though that if we so at the beginning of the show, we introduced ourselves and Tim said new book, and I said, what do you normally say? And he said, famous for writing this book. So Tim's written multiple books on social selling and social media. How many posts roughly have you written, Tim, on LinkedIn?
2000.
Okay, so if I were to take Tim's 2000, let's assume Tim is the global authority and knows more than anybody else on this topic, although all of this stuff is public source. If Tim takes his 2000 posts and he pours them into LinkedIn, let's say in this case, Notebook LM, and then he says to Gemini, this is everything I know about social media. This is my perspective on this and my belief system on this, and use this as your reference material when you are writing blogs, answering things, having conversations, then surely what you've got is something which is potentially a unique perspective which reflects who Tim is. Now, does this mean that it will be as good as Tim spending 25 minutes reading Tracy's post and answering? No, of course it won't. Of course it won't. Because what it won't contain is any innovation. It will just contain a regurgitation of what Tim's already said in the past. So nothing new, potentially. However, if Tim turns a 25-minute project into a 25-second project, then he can do an awful lot more of those in a day.
Or he can do more awfully, and a lot of them.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hold on a sec. But Rob, what about bias in the training data? A portion of the training data is based on Reddit. So is the norm distribution a fair assessment?
I love this comment because you've just identified the Achilles heel. We take the conventional wisdom and presume that to be correct. And even the conventional wisdom, as expressed on the internet, is not necessarily the opinions of everyone. It's the opinions of those who speak up. It's the opinions of the loudest, not the smartest. And it has an inherent bias, especially on Reddit and some areas where the trolls love to gather. Not that trolls gather on Reddit, but it's really easy to do so there versus LinkedIn, because on Reddit, you have an anonymous username. On LinkedIn, at least we have your profile. And except for the bots that are on LinkedIn, we can at least assume it's you saying what you're saying, or your AI. So yes, is the norm of distribution a fair assessment? Not at all. But that's what we go by.
Okay, I want to talk about the desire to go fast and the inputs for that, because I think there's, okay, let's just say that my article takes 10 minutes to read, although most of my articles are not that long in case anyone wants to read my articles. But let's just say you read my article for 10 minutes. Now we're making an assumption that it's supposed to take me 15 minutes to come up with a smart response to that. My challenge on that would be, if you read something and it sparks something for you, you should be able to comment intelligently on that immediately, within 2 minutes. If there are activities that are going into that taking 15 minutes, there's probably some mindset there in you judging that you don't have anything good to say. So I have to figure out something good to say. And what am I going to say? I should say something on this person's post because I'm trying to get in front of their people, right? Like we've turned this into, like, all of that activity can't actually be replaced by AI. So even if we go and say, okay, I'm going to copy Tracy's article into my chat GPT and then ask it, what would I say about this? And then copy that back into the comments. That activity, which we used AI to do, which does make the activity faster, doesn't contribute positively to our confidence level in building a relationship with that person. So I think it's important to look at the balance of what are we using AI to help us do, and why do we think we need that activity to be faster? If it's, okay, let's look at a different example of, I want to write content. I want to write long form blog. Right now, it takes me like 4 hours to research a topic, and then it takes me 2 hours to write the post, and then it takes me another hour going back and forth because I want to edit it. Okay, now this is taking an entire day to write a blog post. I don't think anybody here would say, take an entire day to write a blog post. That's a good investment of your time. So there's multiple activities within that work distribution that can be aided by AI to make it faster. But I think we have to watch if we're trading that for our ability to build our confidence in how we respond.
I think the issue, Tracy, is that if you write a blog post, that's a marketing activity. That's a one-to-many publication. And you cannot legislate for whether people are going to like that and respond to that. You cannot legislate which people are going to respond to that. If you leave a comment on somebody else's post, that's a sales activity. So I've targeted you, Tracy, because I want to sell you something. Now, there is still, like with a marketing activity, there is still a degree of reciprocity needed. I really like you, therefore it's quite easy for me to write something which is a value add to your post. I cannot legislate for whether or not you are going to like me back and want to have a conversation with me. So I need to be able to farm those things in an efficient way, because clearly if I just say the only person I'm interested in selling to is Tracy, because I think she's absolutely fantastic and I think she'd be a perfect fit for my company, and Tracy says the only person I don't want to buy from is Adam, it doesn't matter how much I do, I'm not going to be able to cross that chasm. Whereas if I say, okay, what I'm looking to do initially is to find a way to add insightful comments on posts from people that I would like to have a conversation with. I might be targeting 10 companies and each company might have 100 people in. So that's 1,000 people whose posts I need to be looking at. And we all know that you look out onto LinkedIn and 99.9% of the posts out there are awful. They're posts that don't have that kind of resonance with you. So actually, even though your post doesn't have any resonance with me, I need to find some way of finding something that I can say about that post that makes me seem grateful for the fact that you've published that post and me seem like it knows what I'm talking about. And that is a function of scale. You know, we don't believe in cold calling, but cold calling is a great metaphor for this. The more people you call, the more likely you are to sell something. If you phone one person, you get 100% failure rate. If you phone 1,000 people, maybe you'll get one sale. And ultimately, this is a similar kind of thing, isn't it? You need to identify who you want to talk to, and then you need to find some hook that can hopefully get those people engaged in a conversation. And that is a scale game. And the challenge previously without AI has been, how do you scale? You know, how many smart comments can you write in a day? How many blog posts can you write in a day? And that's always been the bottleneck, hasn't it?
Are we not in a situation where if you're using AI to generate a sort of an insightful comment, that's kind of as bad as using AI to write your post in the first place? You know,
I think it is. If you go to DeepSeek and you type in, you paste the post in and you say, what's an intelligent comment to make for this, then yeah, absolutely, that contains no authenticity and nothing of you in it at all. If, however, we go back to the model of, Tim's taken his 2,000 posts, he's poured them into the social media tool, and he said, that is your data set that I need. So this tells you how I speak, what I know, what I believe, what I think is right, my viewpoint on everything. Take that, now write me a 50-word smart response to this post. That's a very different proposition to just going to ChatGPT and saying, write me a blog. Because actually, clearly, if you do that, you are going to get the amalgamation of the internet in terms of the response that you get, which will be non-personal, not interesting, doesn't sound like you, doesn't have any authenticity. And we need to safeguard against that. But we do need to be able to provide some tool to help people bridge the gap, don't we, between what they do and what they should do.
maybe you could aggregate all the comments you've ever made and base all your future comments.
Can I say something about it? The amount
You see
of
them,
time-
you meet all your future comments coming the other way, does it? Like a matrix, like a glitch.
I mean, okay, so let's say we want to write 50 smart words, right? That's a very random number, and it doesn't need to be 50 words to be smart, and it could be longer than 50 words. I don't know, right? Average 50 words. So I could, as the consumer of the content, right? So I think this is where maybe there's an opportunity. Okay, I'm gonna just start with this example before I distract myself. I read Tim's post and I'm like, ooh, okay, now I've read Tim's post. I want to do a smart comment on this post. There's like that mindset, or there's, I read Tim's post. I like Tim's post, right? So now I'm going to take the time it takes to create those 50 words, and I could put them on Tim's post right now because I'm inspired by Tim's post and I want to say something about Tim's post. Or I take that action away from the conversation, I take it away over to AI, and I say, I need to say something really exciting, really insightful about this post, knowing fully well that I have no idea what Tim thinks is insightful, only what I think is insightful. So now I'm going to prompt my GPT I'm going to copy and paste probably that content, and then it's going to tell me what 50 words I could say about that. Also, it's very bad at doing a word count if you actually have to do a word count. Then I'm going to get something. I'm probably going to have to edit that something. So, like, I feel like the thing to watch out for here is that that activity could actually take longer than just commenting on a post.
It could. So one of the things that came out of our conversations earlier this week is the grounding rule. So your AI is useless unless it is deeply grounded in 3 layers. 1, your corporate business context. So it needs to understand your company, your brand, your value proposition, your ideal customer profile, what is appropriate to talk about and what isn't, and the kind of language that you use as a business. That's a prerequisite, and that's for everybody across the organization. Next, there's your professional identity. So who you are, what you know, what verticals you're working in, how you talk, all of those things that help to demonstrate your own personal expertise in tackling the buyer's problem. And then there's lastly the personality stuff. So the words you use, the jokes that you tell, what your personal interests are at home, all of those kinds of things that give you the anecdotal bits of fun that humanize the content. And if you don't teach your AI those things, what you end up with is something which is, I write something and I sound like Tim. Well, that doesn't make any sense, because if people want to hear Tim speak, they go and follow Tim. So it has to be me that is speaking to people. But equally, we as a business have a particular view of the world. We have a particular value proposition. We know who our ideal and the customers are that we can best service. We know where we want to work. We know which are the people that we need to be talking to within these organizations. So we can write in a way, we can equip the AI to help us write in a way that resonates with those people. That's a
How long does it take to do that?
But how many posts have you written, Tracy?
I don't even know. At least 2,000.
Yeah. Okay. So you've written 2,000 posts. So if I pour your 2,000 posts into an AI instance, and I pour Tim's 2,000 posts into an AI instance, and in each case I give the AI the same brief, which is, this is the entire knowledge base for this person. This is what they've spoken about for the last 10 years. Base all of your assumptions and everything you say on these examples of stuff. Clearly, if I then type in the same command into your AI and Tim's AI, I'm going to get something wildly different back, aren't I?
True, but you're only going to get what I've said before, not what I might say.
But that's the basis, because you only know what you've done before, and you can hypothesize about what might happen in the future. But so far, you are the sum of all of your experiences, aren't you?
And that's what AI is at the moment. It is just a sum of everything.
The past.
The past.
But the point is, Richard, it needs to be, your AI needs to be the sum of your experiences, not of everyone on the call's experiences.
Ooh, I'm sorry. I think Rob has something really good to say. And I'm going to say one more thing. But does insight come from the sum of all my experiences, or the sum of my experiences added into me reading Tim's post, which prompted something new for me? And then what makes it insightful is the new information that is generated between those 2 points. Rob.
I call that cross-pollination. Adam, you said something really important, and I don't know that you recognize it. No. You said, help me write. And I would agree with that. I use AI to help me write often. But for many people, help me write comes down to copy and paste. And that's where the rubber hits the road. That's where I have issue. A very wise mentor once told me a fantastic explanation for AI. AI is like a walking stick, but it cannot do the walking for you. If you are using the tool to help guide you in terms of what you want to say, especially in the context of everything you've said before, but then the final I that's dotted and T that's crossed is something that you've come up with uniquely on your own in this moment. That to me is a best use of the tool guiding you, but not doing the work for you. And I think that's where the issue of AI and automation and scale comes into play. We've all heard the Gartner statistic that 75% of buyers would prefer a seller-free experience. And then in this current age of AI, Gartner actually recently backtracked on that. And they said, no, actually, our research now shows that buyers do want real sellers involved in the process. The difference is they want the sellers involved at the right time, in the right way. They want trusted advisors. They don't want do it themselves. They don't want bots, and they don't want sellers who are just there to sell. So that's the difference between AI doing it for you and AI guiding you through the process. If you're using AI to guide you, then absolutely, it can expedite your operations. If you're asking AI to do it for you, what value are you?
Yeah, absolutely. But I think that the important point here is that if if you have a great LinkedIn profile, you've published some content sporadically over your 10, 20 years on LinkedIn. Sometimes you've published an article every single day. Sometimes you've published an article every single month. Having something which is a starting point really better than having a blank page. And the question is it better to publish something which has been created automatically in your voice based on your knowledge, or is it better to publish nothing at all? And the reason I say this is that most people on LinkedIn, Tim, you probably know the stats to this. How many people on LinkedIn publish something every week? It's like no one. Yeah, the people are all on this call that publish something every single week. So it's a tiny little proportion. And most people that do publish something every single month don't write that content themselves. They simply regurgitate corporate content, which adds zero value. So adding a little bit of value by creating something based on your knowledge, whether or not you paste that in verbatim or whether or not you edit that, is a step up from the corporate content that you're currently sharing. And for many organizations, I think that there is a real fear attached to empowering people to write their own content. Because what happens if Rob goes off the reservation? What happens if he starts to write stuff that we don't agree with? Well, if the fundamental grounding of your AI tool is one that here's the brand, these are our corporate values, this is what we stand for, this is the lexicon of words we use, this is our go-to-market, this is our value proposition, it means that at least the stuff on which it's being based is not fundamentally wrong.
Tracy, don't mention brand as a prison. You don't want to go off down that way. I can see your face. You've got your brand as a prison face.
I'm pretty sure I wrote something in the book about brand as a prison, but you guys will just have to write. You'll just have to buy the book.
You did. If you want to read a piece about brand as a prison, Tracy's bit is in here.
Wouldn't it be quicker or more accurate to write it personally? Yeah, sometimes. I think that Tracy, Tim are very, very good at writing blogs very quickly, and the blogs will be better than what comes out of AI. Most people, though, they're not. Most people are, as you said, Tracy, they spend 3 hours writing a blog, they spend an hour editing it, they then go and sleep on it, so it's basically a day to produce a blog. So actually, in that instance, no, it's neither quicker nor better, because that blog will never get published. Adam, it's reverse. AI is a tool for a person to automate a job as the person using it to interface with others. Well, I think that we're talking about AI being used as a tool for initial individual marketing activities. The challenge that we have is that, and we use this as an example when we're teaching people how to connect with somebody else on LinkedIn. I can look at your profile and I can spend an hour reading everything about you, and I can write a hyper-personalized connection request that almost guarantees 100% success rate, or I can write a generic, non-specific, but friendly connection request where I can send out 50 in an hour. Now, I may only get a 75% success rate, but it still means that I've added 40 more connections during the course of that hour than had I spent an hour reading and writing that 100% successful connection request. So it's about providing the scale, because like I said, I could decide, I love Tracy, she's fantastic, I desperately want to work with her. And she might say, I hate Adam, I can't bear him, and I definitely don't want to work with him. And you can only know that when you've started to have some interaction with somebody.
Andrew Tesla makes a really interesting comment about content creators versus content consumers. If AI becomes too systematic, will the consumer switch off? And
yes.
I think that's a real risk. I think, we've talked on here many times before that even though there could be thousands and millions of more blog pieces to be written, we actually don't read anymore. So what happens is that we become more focused. And I think that also what we tend to do is that we're becoming more hardened in terms of what we think is false and what we think is the truth. And therefore, we start becoming more selective in terms of who we read. And I think that's then that, but that then is the opportunity, is that we're now on social media for the last 5 years. We don't necessarily follow friends. We follow people that interest us. We're following people, I follow Tracy because everything she writes, as far as I'm concerned, is really interesting. And I read it and I go, I never thought about that. Brian Solis, you can name people that we would go and seek out and read. And that's the opportunity for people, because that's where the trust and that's where the relationship starts. And that, from a sales perspective, is something that we can harvest for ourselves.
I want to touch on the example that Adam gave, because this is actually a really great example of how to scale authenticity. So if we're thinking about the process that each of us might have today, or maybe had historically, about reaching out to new people, there are rules that we place around that. And if we don't explore what the rules are, then it's very difficult to scale, because the rules are actually what keeps us smaller. So if we've convinced ourselves that we have to do an hour's worth of research and I have to send a personalized message to every single person who I connect with on LinkedIn, that rule, I can't scale within that rule. Right? So I could say, well, now instead of me doing that, I'm going to get AI to do an hour's worth of research on this person, and I'm going to copy and paste their profile, and I'm going to copy and paste any links that they have, and then AI is going to do that. And then now you don't actually know anything about that person, which was the benefit of doing that activity, but that activity was too soon. Like we didn't need to do that activity yet. So we were wasting our time. So I love this concept, and I've shared it with like most of my friends, anybody who asks me from an outreach point of view. It's like, how can you send a message that is generic yet authentic? Something you would say to anyone, right? And take that and use that, because you don't even know that this person is going to accept your connection request yet. How much effort are you going to put in to somebody who's not going to accept your connection request? An hour? That seems like a big waste of time. And so if what we can send them is authentic, though, it's something we would say. And even like what I do is I have a document where I have collected like a library of things that I have said in connection requests, that then like, hey, you could say like, hey, I take this as information and create my, like, what would I say today? And then you can edit it, and you could send 50 of the same, which is maybe a little different than what you said yesterday, but it's what you would say today, to 50 people in an hour instead of one. And you're choosing the people because they're who you would connect with, right? Like if you want to target a specific organization, cool. But like, look at all the people in those organizations. You feel equally drawn to connecting with all of those people today? Or could you be like, oh, you know what? That person posted yesterday, so I'm gonna connect with them today. Like, I don't even care what your reason is, as long as you have your reason. You understand why you're connecting with that person today. You're sending them an authentic thing that you would say, because then if they have a conversation with you, it's gonna sound cohesive. Then like, that's the scalable activity. And AI can play a role, but AI is not doing the thing, right? Like, you're still doing the thing. The desire for the relationship to be built is still yours. It's not that someone's like, you need to do this and send 50 requests today. And you're like, oh no, I have to send 50 requests. No, like, it comes from in you, and you have like harvested the pieces of the puzzle that are key to your authenticity into the scaling of that. And so now imagine I needed to send 50 requests a day. And instead of it taking me 8 hours, it took me 1. And now I actually have that 15 minutes to send a really intelligent comment on someone's post, because I saved time elsewhere. So this is like the opportunity, I think, from a holistic perspective, but that like core of what we would do is still a critical component into how we use AI to scale the activities that we do.
It is. I think the problem, though, is that we as a group, and probably most of the people that are in the audience today, are at the very outlier in terms of how much they do on LinkedIn. the average, so I've just Googled it while you were speaking, the average number of connections on LinkedIn is 1,300.
It's about 1,000.
So if you've been on LinkedIn for 20 years, it means you're adding 65 connections a year. It means you're meeting people and adding them to your LinkedIn network at the rate of roughly one a week, which is pathetic and reactive. The average person, 1% of people on LinkedIn publish once a week. 99% publish less than once a week. So I think that part of the challenge that we have, and maybe this is down to back to Andrew's comment about some people are content creators, some are content consumers. If you want to bridge the gap and be somebody that has an active network, you have to be a content creator. So people within your network can consume your content. And most people don't. And the reason they don't is, I don't believe it's because they're lazy. I don't believe it's because they're stupid. I believe it's because they're scared of writing something which they feel may reflect badly on them. And anything that we can do which helps people to overcome that barrier, we all know that if we go every single breakfast, every single lunch, and every single evening to a local networking event, we will generate business. There's no question about it, because we'll meet loads of people, we'll get to know those people, and some of those people will say, really interesting, I've met you, I'd like to talk about how you can help me achieve this. And LinkedIn is exactly that in a digital format. However, most people don't do it in a proactive way. And helping people to become proactive is the difference between sitting there staring at the phone waiting for it to ring and actually having conversations with people, isn't it? So is it
Adam,
optimal? Sorry, go on, Rob.
You've solved for the 0 to 1 problem. And the 0 to 1 problem is what 99% of the LinkedIn population has. The challenge I put to you is, in solving the 0 to 1 problem, most people stop. Now I have a tool that does it for me. I don't have to worry about improving. Just as an aside, Tracy, I'm glad to hear we're still doing the thing.
We're always doing the thing, Rob. Always.
But I wanted to share with you, I was fortunate enough to host a VP from Forrester at a recent sales enablement event. And he shared with us the 3 ways Forrester defines AI deployment in the marketplace. The first is for finding not the needle in the haystack, but the needle in the stack of needles. AI is great at taking reams and reams of disparate data and finding insight. However, most of us really don't have use for that. Those are extreme fringe cases. The second thing that AI deployment is used commonly for is the repetitive process and expediting and writing these emails and doing these mundane tasks and so on. And according to his analysis, it's in there. It's everywhere. It's ubiquitous. You cannot buy a software tool these days that does not have some sort of process expedite AI tool. So it's table stakes. According to Forrester, the biggest area for opportunity going forward with AI is AI for personal development and coaching. So once we get them from 0 to 1, we want to get them from 1 to 10, 10 to 100, 100 to whatever. And the best way to do that is stop with the copy paste. Now that we've got the response that we need, now we need to go back to it and make it more human ourselves. And that's where our ideas align. I just believe that it needs to be encouraged to take it beyond the copy paste.
Of course it does. But I think that the thing to remember, so Tim mentioned Brian Solis earlier in Dispatches. And Brian Solis is a great example. He has been at the very forefront of digital thought for as long as I can remember. Does he use AI to write his stuff? No. Has he written loads of posts? Yes. Has he got loads of followers? Yes. Has he written loads of books? Yes. He doesn't need AI, but 99% of people do. And what they need is guardrails around that to maybe, you're right, Rob, maybe to give them the confidence to believe that they can say this stuff themselves, maybe to have a tool that helps them marshal all of their disparate knowledge and be able to deploy that to answer specific questions and write stuff around certain points. But the reality is that it doesn't matter how things should be. How they are is that most people don't publish content. Most people spend years building a network and they're completely invisible to that network almost all of the time. Yeah, AI teammates will not be the same as human teammates.
Yeah, they're horrible at softball.
Yeah, but they don't ever take a day sick, do they? So all things considered, it's swings and roundabouts. But we were talking about we see there being a role for 3 team AI teammates for people. One of them is a commentator helping you write those comments, and it may not be a cut and paste job, but it may be you could say something like this, you could say something like this, you know, in a list of possible outcomes. One as a content creator. So I would like you to give me a plan for writing a long post on the following things. What things do I need to include in that? AI is perfect for that as an editor. And then lastly, as something to help you do the production of things. So, for example, I want to do a show on AI teammates. We've had a brainstorm on it. This is what we put in. I need you to write me this into 250 words. And that's a very powerful tool. And again, a great time saving tool, because nobody ever says, you know, actually, I'd like to spend another 2 hours editing this blog post before I publish it. You know, the issue, whether it's a real issue or a perceived issue, is that people don't have time.
AI will not write a perfectly conducted resume. Only humans can. I'll honestly, I will balk at that.
I would like to say that I think resumes are completely useless in the current way. Humaning.
As one who is teaching college students about resumes and so on, I still contend that it should be the walking stick, not doing the walking for them. But AI can certainly help them do a job better than they would do on their own. I've read what they do on their own.
Well, and AI can like intelligently include things that will help with an ATS, which is also another machine, right? So now that a lot of resumes are going through an ATS, which is a machine, now you have a machine talking to a machine, which actually knows the same language, instead of a human trying to talk to a machine, which becomes very difficult. Again, do I think that this is a successful direction in which the hiring industry is going? No, but we play the game.
So interestingly, this is one of those. This comment, and thanks, Jay. AI might be well for manufacturing industry, not so sure about banking or healthcare. So a friend of mine is a very senior radiologist, and they use AI tools to scan large number of to analyze large numbers of scans taken of people to see which ones they need to be looked at in more detail. So already AI is providing massive benefits in the healthcare sector for the reason you said, Rob. You know, trawling through huge volumes of data and looking for trends in things. That's exactly, and the same in banking, I guess. You know, this transaction looks like it's fraudulent, therefore we'll go and examine this in more detail. So I think that a lot of these things are, you know, it has its place, but it's more about using it as something to empower the human interface, isn't it?
And I think this comes back to the concept of insights, right? Like, because AI can be used to help generate insights. And when insights come from a mass amount of data, that is like a human brain just can't do that. So AI can be very helpful with that. I think there is, to speak to Rob's piece about the like difference between 0, 1, and like 1 to 10, I think the thing to be cognizant of is as we are using AI to take us from the 0 to 1, is it actively disabling us from getting to 10? Or is it that first step that allows us to go from 0? Because I can't go from 0 to 10. I can't do that. I have to go from 0 to 1. But am I doing it in a way that is going to allow me to practice my discernment? Is it going to allow me to practice my authenticity? Is it going to allow me to build my confidence around my ability in building a relationship and selling or marketing or however we want to call it? Is it allowing us to do that? If it's not, if it's convincing us that we don't need to do that, that's a thing that's going to be done by machines and it's not a thing that has to be done by humans, in the arena of this is a human relationship building activity, then beware.
We've got, I suspect from the same person, LinkedIn user, fantastic 2 comments, which would be a great thing to finish on. AI as a mirror to improve my deliberations, not a vending machine.
Boom. I think that's Wolfram. Nice, Wolfram.
Yeah, absolutely fantastic comment.
Did we get Andrew's comment about AI workmates won't go to the bar to buy you a drink or invite you to lunch?
Yeah, but neither do our real workmates, so it's fine.
Well, maybe you could ask your AI to give you answers as they would provide after 5 pints of beer or something like that, and see if that.
Yeah,
that'd be fun, actually.
It paints their opinions either way.
but I think this is a fascinating.
It's a cold call coming in for.
Right,
and it's a bot.
I think it's a fascinating conversation, and I think that we all are scared by AI. Yeah, we see it as an opportunity, but we also see it as a challenge to the status quo, and will make many people's lives more difficult as it offers to replace them or do their job instead of them. I think that one of the key things that we need to be cognizant of is that AI is here to stay. Everybody, I say everybody in quotes, everybody is looking for AI-enabled solutions to solve some of the problems that they're facing at the moment. And there is a window of opportunity that you can be an early adopter of AI to make your work more efficient, or you can be like the King Canute holding back the waves and hope that you'll sidestep this. But the reality is that there's going to be a massive shift in how things are done and the expectation of what you can do. And part of the question that we need to ask is when we are using AI, is it fit for purpose? Can we make this tool good enough to do the things that we need to be able to do? So if Tim represents the high watermark of social media use in the world, does that mean that only Tim is capable of selling things? No, it doesn't. It means lots of people can. And those people generally are people, the high performers that we've seen and worked with, are people that are fluent in using social media as a way of outreaching and starting conversations with people. They're not the best, but they are good enough at this stuff. And part of this is about making sure that your time and the yield you get from it is done most effectively.
Can I comment quickly on what? First of all, Sarah has a really great comment about healthcare that people should look at. But Andrew has a comment about how AI workmates would be banned from the local pub quiz, though. And I think this is actually a really great example, even if you didn't mean it to be one, Andrew, and you meant it to be a joke, is that like we as humans get joy from participating in quizzes. Maybe if we get them all wrong, not so much, but it's fun, it's challenging, and there is an opportunity to use AI to take out the fun and to take out the challenging. So as we're looking at how we can use AI teammates to do the things and scale the things that we need to do, let's make sure that we're not letting them take the joy out of stuff right along with it.
Fantastic. So What a great show. Thank you, everybody on the show. Tim, Rob, Richard, Tracy. Thank you, everybody in the audience. Some fantastic input and fantastic comments. We are always on the lookout for exciting and interesting guests that have a point of view on something that they would like to share with our audience. So if you would like to be one of those fantastic guests with something interesting to say, please do scan the QR. Scan it.
I was expecting it to be down here. Like it
So,
Okay, let's. There we are. Is that what you were expecting?
Yes.
Again, please. Please do scan the QR code and fill out the form and come and join us as a guest.
Buy the
For
book.
those listening audio only, that's digitaldownload.live/guest.
Thank you very much indeed, Rob. And yes, thank you, Richard. Do buy the book as well. So until next week, thank you all very much.